Imagine you have a book. It's a massive instruction manual, thousands of pages long. It holds the exact recipe to build you, your eye color, your height, whether you hate cilantro or love it. It's all in that book. Now imagine you have a pair of scissors and a pen. You open the book, find the page that says, has a high risk for heart disease. Cut that sentence out, and write in, has a perfectly healthy heart. Seems like science fiction, right? Similar to something from a superhero movie? Well, that book is real. It's inside every cell in your body. And those scissors, we invented them a few decades ago, and we're getting really good at using them. Today, we're talking about genetic modification, what it is, how it works, and why it's probably the most important and terrifying technology humanity has ever created. Welcome to the first episode of the GeneLab, where we break down the complex science that's changing our world. I'm your host, Novak. Today we are starting at absolute zero with genetic engineering. Before we can talk about modifying genetics, we have to understand what genetics are. Don't worry, I promise no high school biology flashbacks. I'm going to use an analogy. Think of your body like a piece of IKEA furniture that happens to be alive. You're incredibly complicated to build. To build you, your body needs instructions. That instruction manual is called DNA. DNA is huge. If you uncoil the DNA in just one of your cells, it will be about 6 feet long. It's crammed into almost every cell in your body. Now this manual is divided into certain chapters that give specific instructions, like Chapter 1 might be how to make blue eyes. Chapter 50 might be how to make insulin. These chapters, we call them genes. So, your genes determine your traits. A tomato has genes that tell it to be red and squishy. A cheetah has genes that tell it to run fast and have spots. For billions of years, the only way to change those instruction manuals was slow, natural evolution, or selective breeding. Like how we turned wolves into pugs over thousands of years. But then, we figured out how to cheat the system. Genetic engineering, sometimes called genetic modification, is basically just taking that instruction manual and editing it directly. It's the process of changing an organism's DNA to give it new traits that it wouldn't naturally have. How? Well, scientists have developed tools. Think of them as microscopic biological scissors that can actually find a specific spot in a DNA strand, cut it open, and either delete a piece of code or paste in a new piece from something else. We can take genes from organism A and paste it into the instruction manual of organism B. And this is where it gets wild, because DNA is a universal language. The code that makes a bacteria work is written in the same language as the code that makes you work. This means we can mix and match across species. We can take a gene from a fish that lives in the freezing Arctic, a gene that acts like antifreeze so the fish doesn't turn into an ice cube, and paste that gene into a tomato's DNA. Now, that tomato has the instructions to resist frost. We've edited its manual. Now, if you're hearing this and thinking, whoa, that sounds like frankenfood, keep it away from me, I have some news for you. You've already been interacting with GMOs, genetically modified organisms, your whole life. Let's look at a few examples, from the life-saving to the just plain weird. Before the 1980s, if you were diabetic and needed insulin, that insulin had to be harvested from the pancreases of slaughtered pigs and cows. It was expensive and not exactly indistinguishable from human insulin. Then, scientists took the human gene that knows how to create insulin and they pasted it into bacteria. They basically turned bacteria into tiny insulin factories. And today, almost all the insulin used by diabetics worldwide is genetically engineered. It's cheaper, safer, and saves millions of lives. Now that's a GMO win. Have you ever seen those neon-colored fish in the pet stores that glow under a black light? They aren't painted. They have a gene spliced into their DNA that makes them fluorescent. They're living, breathing examples of cut and paste genetics that you can buy for $5. And yes, the big one, food. In the US, tons of corn and soy have been engineered to resist pests or survive being sprayed with weed killer. We'll do a whole separate episode on GMO foods, but because it's a massive topic, but now that it's already in all of what we eat, we have now entered an era where we aren't just living things, we are designers of living things. We recently developed a new tool called CRISPR, which you might have heard of, that makes this editing process faster, cheaper, and unbelievably precise. It's like moving from a rusty pair of scissors to a laser-guided scalpel. And this brings up huge questions. If we can cure diseases before a baby is even born, should we? If we can make soldiers who don't feel pain, will we? If we change an animal and release it into the wild, what happens to the ecosystem 20 years later? This technology has the potential to end starvation and cure cancer. It also has the potential to go horribly wrong. In this series, we're going to dive into all of it. The medical miracles, the agricultural debates, and the ethical nightmares of designer babies. But for now, you know the basics. It's just a cut and paste job on the instruction manual of life. And if you want to come along for this ride, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next episode when we dive into the truth about GMO foods. And let me know in the comments below, if you could genetically modify one thing about yourself, change your eye color, never need sleep, have perfect memory, what would it be? I want to hear your craziest ideas. So thanks for watching the GeneLab. Stay curious.